Back to the Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural. I'm Jeremy, and tonight I'm joined by Bobby Roberts from Southern Paranormal Ghost Hunters from Kentucky. And we'll be talking about their team, their approach to investigations, and their work in the historic Chestnut House in Kentucky, a location that has nearly 200 years of documented tragedy. So grab your favorite drink, dim the lights, and let's start digging into the darkness. Welcome, Bobby.
It's nice to,
Nice to meet you as well, and thank you for coming on today. So, right at to get started here, can you tell us about Southern Paranormal Ghost Hunters? How long have you guys been investigating, and what's your background and your team's background?
so the story about us, it was kind of funny how we came to be actually. We haven't been investigating not longer than some of the teams that we've seen, but the reason we started, there was an incident and my little nephew, you know how kids are. Well, he come over to me and he was like, "Oh, you know, the people are laughing." And I looked at him and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Oh, they're laughing because, your Nina got her leg broke." And I'm like, "Well," so that's kind of what jump started it for, me and my team was, I don't know, it's just like something like pretty much a spur of the moment type of deal for, me. And then I ended up meeting with Brian, which is another member, and he had already been doing stuff like this before. And I was like, oh, we could work together. And that's kind of how me and him formed. Now, we do have two other members, but they're kind of in and out whenever they get time. We've been investigating for maybe close to a year.
Sounds great. So, you're based in Kentucky. Does that give you an advantage investigating locations like the Chestnut House with that deep regional history?
Yes and no. There's not many places down here, like in the part that I'm at. All we have close is the Chestnut House. I know there is a lot of places that we have been talking about going to, but it's just money and time that we've got to figure out when to get together because one of them, or Brian, he works weekends, I work nights. So it's kind of like a clash trying to get together and find places to go to.
So, what is your approach to investigations? Are you more scientific, spiritual, or kind of a blend?
I wouldn't call us spiritual. We're more of like the scientific type. We try and take like an approach of like if we go to a place and the bell starts going off, we're like, okay, is it one of our devices that's, making it ding? Is it our phones that are making it ding? So we'll sit there and wave our phones around and stuff in front of everything. So I would say we're more of a scientific approach, if anything.
Okay. So, what makes your team a little bit different from other paranormal groups in Kentucky? Since I'm
I would say what makes us different is, we've known each other for a while. Me and Brian have history besides the team. So me and him just really click. And, some teams I know that they get a member and, I don't know how to explain. I guess we just click. So we have a fun time with it. It's not all serious sometimes. I mean, so we're more relaxed, but trying to get stuff done.
okay. So, moving into chatting about the Chestnut House, what's your most memorable investigation your team's conducted there?
The most memorable one was actually the second time we went there. We were in talks of working alongside Kevin and his team. So he was like, well, I've got two people that are wanting to meet you all because I reckon word got around to them. And so they booked up, a public investigation with me and Brian. I don't know if it's because the spirits of the house or whatever like women more, because it really didn't do stuff for us whenever we were there. But as soon as they came in, we put the bell down, we were getting everything set up. One of the women walked past the bell, it started going off. So we're like, okay. So we just kind of brushed that off, and it was like the whole night. It was just like they were following them around. It was one thing after another. The bell, we done a flashlight experiment, we done Estes, and it was a lot of crazy stuff that happened that night.
So, how did you connect with the Chestnut House? Did you reach out to the owner or did they approach you?
I was I'd heard about it, and Brian brought up the idea. He was like, "We need to get together and go to the Chestnut House." So I ended up reaching out to him, and he was pretty much like, "Yeah, I can fit you all in tonight," because it was like 9 or 10. Brian was already on his way down here because he lives about an hour and a half away. We had already had plans to go somewhere else, but we were like, this is a once in a lifetime thing, be able to go to the famous Chestnut House. So it just kind of went from there. Once we got there, he gave us a tour of the place. We just started talking, and I forgot what led us into it, but he was doing something for Halloween. And I was like, well, I can come help you or whatever. And during that 3 day period, pretty much like I guess he was giving me a test run to see how I would do if somebody were to book it. And it's just kind of went from there. Like we talked about it, and he was like, well, I could allow you to do public investigations with people. And I was like, oh, well, it was something that he just kind of brought up. And I was like, yeah, I would love to. So
So, can you tell us a little bit more about the Chestnut House history in general? I know there's quite a bit of it, but kind of the short, the compacted version.
yeah. Kevin, if you're watching this, I'm sorry if I butcher this. So I'm pretty sure the Chestnut House, it was pretty much made by Mr. Chestnut himself. They had money. It was a plantation home back then, and he had workers inside the house. It consisted of him, his wife, and their kids. So it was pretty much a family home. I don't know its name. I never got told this part, but I have heard stories of the son or one of the sons. He actually fought in the Civil War. So whenever
Okay.
he came back, they were like, no, you're not staying in here. So they pretty much kicked him off to the side and put him in a house, I think either behind them or beside of them in the guest house. So after that, a little bit down the road, they were living their best life. A doctor was like, well, I'm going to buy your house from you. And so he bought the house out from under him. He lived there for a while. You may have heard stories about the little boy that was confined to the attic. That was the doctor's son. Word got around that he had been sleeping with another woman, and his wife did not like that. Once he had a kid by the woman, she was like, you're not allowed in this house. You're going upstairs. So they pretty much condemned him to the attic. So if you ever go there, they'll brush up on that with you and tell you more about the doctor and, you know, the kid. I would say the word, but, that's just what they called him. It pretty much a son that wasn't his wife's. Stories about I wouldn't call him evil or a demonic spirit, but there's a grumpy old
Grumpy.
that lives up in the attic. He does not like people if you come up there. I mean, there's been people pushed, shoved, scratched. One of the women we actually was doing the investigation with, that was doing the public one with us, she had went up there and she said, she was like, "Who just touched my hand?" And nobody was there. Like nobody was with her, nothing. So I was like, "Well, that's the grumpy man upstairs. He don't like nobody coming up there." But it after the doctor and whatever, they lived there, I think 6 or 7 years. Like I said, Kevin, I'm so sorry if you're watching this, but they pretty much got the house bought back under them by the Chestnuts, and the Chestnuts lived there up until the passing, their passing days. They were always trying to renovate the house, but that's pretty much like a butchered version of
A butchered version of the history.
yeah.
So, what's the most compelling evidence you've got from that location?
The most compelling would be, we had been told by Kevin. I forget, he was like a Bigfoot researcher or something. He was like, he sat in front of the store for like an hour or two. Whenever you go into the house, you go up to the second floor and there's a door there and you have to lay into it to get it open. Like I had to sit there and yank it open. So I had put my phone up there to record, and Brian had went up there. I think we were still setting up or whatever. So he went up there to put a motion sensor or something down. And once he got up there, he shut the door because we thought that it was open. I don't know if it was closed or whatever, but he shut it. Soon as he walked away, you can see on camera, which I have the video of it. He was walking away from it and it just opened slowly, and he turned around and he yelled for me. So we were like, okay, maybe it's the way the door or something's made. So we sat there and probably played with it for 30 minutes to an hour, trying to get it we would close it. We would go to walk away, it open again, shut it, walk away from it, come back, it's open again. So,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most compelling things that we've captured there on camera. There has been another few favorable moments from doing an investigation there, but that's by far one of the ones that sticks out the most.
When you guys do evidence review, do you try to debunk first or do you have a different approach to that?
We try to do the debunk. There's actually a couple of videos we have on TikTok, and one of the ones is, I'm going to use Devil's Creek as an example. We had went up there to do an investigation, and in one of the videos, we had the camera set up looking at our bail and stuff off to the side. And Brian was like, if you ding that bell 3 times for us, we'll pack up and we'll leave. Shortly after, the next day, we started looking through the videos, and he was like, hey, you need to listen to this. So I was listening to it and I was like, I don't hear nothing. He's like, trust me, listen to it again. So I kept listening to it and I was trying to debunk what he was saying. Hey, I hear something. And so we would sit there and go back and forth and trying to, hey, there's something there. And I was like, no, there isn't. Like, I think you're playing with me. And finally, I, kind of turned the volume up as full as I could get it on my phone. And soon as he asked 3 bells, or, ding it 3 times, we'll leave. There's plain as day, a woman's voice in the background was like, that's what I would do. And I started freaking out because I'd went in and like amped up the volume and everything when I was editing it. And so I'm definitely the one that tries to debunk it. He is too, but yeah, we try and debunk stuff before we push it out or publish it on our YouTube.
So, at the Chestnut House, What is the most active area in the house? If investigators went there, where should they focus?
The second floor is by far one of the most active spots, from the door to Miss Cecil's room. Pretty sure it was a guest room at the time. Those are the places that need to be investigated, because we spent more time on the second floor than we did on the first and the attic. We had motion sensors go off on the second floor. We've had the bell go off. For some reason, they don't like me up there on the second floor. I don't ever, in place we go to, they don't like me for whatever reason. So they're very talkative during Estes too. That they tell you how the or how they feel about you. I went up there. I went downstairs to get something, and I was like, "There's somebody behind me." So I thought it was Brian, and I went back upstairs, and we started doing Estes, and I was like, "Can you tell me who was behind me?" And he was like, "Me." And Brian's like, there was also a clown laugh that followed it. And I'm like, okay. So I don't like shoes in the house on that floor, but that's the most active areas. Downstairs, whenever we were down there, they were trying to get us to come up there. That's all it talked about. Hey, come up here. Oh, I'll push this off. You come up here. And one of the REM pods started going off on the second floor. So the second floor by far is where people would need to focus.
What equipment worked best at the Chestnut House? Any surprise successes or complete failures with certain equipment?
The REM pod is one of the most successful ones that we got anything out of there. You'd set it down somewhere, leave it, it'd go off. But the big one was, the cat balls were really successful there. The little boy, I called him down. I was like, hey, you're allowed to come into the house now. Like, you don't have to stay up there. And you can play with the cat ball. And sure enough, it just kind of moved a little bit. And I was like, well, I know he's down here with us. Motion sensors there. They worked at other places, but it only went off like once during an Estes video. There's about every other thing was like a hit or miss. EMF, it was a hit or miss. The flashlights, they worked in most places. But other than that, about everything that we have, it was a hit or miss, but the most successful one had to be the REM pod for us.
What's the biggest challenge your team has faced during an investigation?
The biggest, like,
In general, probably, more in general.
our cameras. We would like sit there and charge them the day before, the day of. We'd get ready to go shoot Camp Wildcat, Chestnut House, Devil's Creek, every single place. We don't know if it's like them messing with our cameras or whatever, but full battery, 5-10 minutes, dead. So we would have to start getting our phones out, having to record on them. So that's one of our biggest challenges when it comes to it, is our cameras not wanting to work properly, having to set up some of our stuff not working. So we'd have to work on them, get them fixed up before we could start. But yeah, that's definitely our faulty equipment sometimes.
Are you both you and Brian, are you guys both skeptics, believers, or a mix?
Brian's a believer. I was a skeptic at first, if you want me to be honest. Whenever I approached it, I was just doing it for fun. I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And Brian's like, let's go somewhere. And we went to Camp Wildcat. And to beat it all, one of our other members, he's a big skeptic. And he said he will never go to Camp Wildcat again. So yeah, I was more on the skeptic side, and then the more and more I done it, I was like, okay, well, how does this work? And I'd sit there and play with it and play with it, and I was like, Well, I've used the bell at my house and it's never went off. Like little stuff like that I've started to pick up on. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to believe now. And then from there on it was, something I've loved doing.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who wants to start their own paranormal investigation team?
The best advice I would give them is probably, try and get somebody that, would that follows the same interest as you. Because I've seen some people they'll get with a team or whatever and end up leaving because they don't click with them or whatever. And also to save a lot of money because it's a very expensive hobby. We have probably I don't have much stuff, but it's probably over $500-600 for it. So definitely save and try and find somebody you click with and get along with and share the same hobbies with to do something like this with.
Okay. I thought I was done with the Chestnut House questions, but I do have one more, well, two-parter. For someone who wants to investigate the Chestnut House, what should they expect when they go there?
It's definitely a hit or miss there. Love Kevin to death. And we were expecting a lot of stuff going off the first time we went there. And it was just kind of downhill. We maybe got one or two things the first time we were there. It's definitely a place that you have to go to a couple times and then be like, oh, I remember you. You were here the other night. And then they start to become more active and playful with you. So it's definitely different for every team that goes there, I would say, anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of places. Going just once, sometimes they need to get to know you. The spirits get to know you and everything, so they're not always going to be super active. What would you recommend the best time of year or conditions to go?
Definitely, I would go probably during the summertime because it's an older place. So it is freezing in there. That's like one of the big things. That's all I got to say on that. It's definitely cold there. So it'd probably
Especially in
take,
the winter time?
but it's a really beautiful place. I would recommend it to anybody that's ever down through here wanting to go to a place. I would get a hold of the Chestnut House.
And beyond the Chestnut House, what other Kentucky locations has your teams investigated that listeners should know about?
Definitely Devil's Creek. I won't go back there. The first night we had went there, we were getting stuff, the whole time we were there, but we ended up having to pack it up because it's not in the best area in Kentucky. So, I mean, it's all the way back 15, 20 miles back in the middle of nowhere. And, there was a car kept going back and forth, back and forth. And we're like, okay, we need to back up. So we ended up going back. And this round, it was me, Brian, Jacob, and my woman. I also had brought her into it to come with us from motion sensors, the bail, the EMF. We done Estes, and you can see in the video, I gotta drop a bad word because we were doing a dual Estes method, and me and my woman were sitting back to back doing it. And towards the end, it felt like somebody had come over there and stuck a cigarette to my hand. And
Oh,
I'm like, okay. So I ripped my headset off and I'm like, what the F was that? I'm sorry. But I kind of screamed there because it was painful.
yeah.
And I rewatched the video and my woman was like, oh, that was me. You still had her headphones on. And I'm like, okay. And I swore to never go back to that place. I don't know what it is, but they do not like me.
Oh,
So,
is there other places that you guys have been?
we've been to Camp Wildcat. We went there a couple times. It's a really good place. That was the first place that we had actually went to as a team. So we didn't know what to expect or anything like that. It's definitely a place for somebody that's just getting into it to go up to. There was a lot of activity and stuff there. It was like a bumpy ride, like a wave. It stuff happened for a couple minutes and it stopped. So it wasn't overwhelming, I guess you could say there. The other place, it's Camp Wildcat, Devil's Creek, and the Chestnut House. Like I said, we've kind of had trouble meeting up and going
Yeah.
to these places. And think the final one is Brian's old house. There was a lot of history there. There's an Indian burial ground like right outside on his front doorstep, pretty much. So there was a lot of stuff that's happened there. The second time we went, the first time it was kind of iffy. But yeah, that's pretty much the only places we went. We've been in talks of trying to get together, put our money together, and go to Waverly Hills and kind of branch out and go to these other places outside of Kentucky.
Okay. I think I have one more question before we wrap up. What's next for Southern Paranormal Ghost Hunters? Any upcoming coming up investigations or projects that you are planning?
There is, I don't want to spoil it. There was a place that had reached out to us that's an actual business down here
Oh,
that have asked us to come there and investigate. And I'm pretty sure, I think we're actually going tomorrow. Tomorrow night's when we're going there. We're going to try and get some stuff. Like it's a new area to me and everybody else. So,
okay. That sounds exciting. Someplace new to go.
yeah.
Thank you for coming on tonight. The past may be gone, but spirits live on. Thank you for joining me tonight. A huge shout out to you and all you've done. You guys sound like you've been doing quite a bit of stuff. If you want to follow their investigations, I'll have all of their links in the description below. If you're in Kentucky and planning a trip to the area, you can touch base with the Chestnut House. I believe they offer some tours and investigations options. You can also find Southern Paranormal Ghost Hunters on Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms. And I'll make sure to put everything in the description below. For those of you listening, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button, share the episode. It helps other history and paranormal fans find the show. Until next Saturday, keep exploring the shadows, and I'll see you next week.